Thanks for watching HCAM. If you want to help create content like this, become an HCAM member. As a member, you'll have access to professional quality equipment and software, as well as guidance from HCAM staff. Come see us at 35 Pond Park Road, Suite 8, conveniently located near Route 3 and Derby Street in Hingham.
My name is Andrea Miranda. Can everyone hear me okay? I'm a registered dietitian at Healthy Balance. We're a wellness boutique and we offer customized programs to people for fitness. So we do training, small group and private training. We do nutrition consulting and we do sports massage. We also do corporate wellness where we go into different companies and do presentations just like this. We have studios in both Quincy and Hanover. Quincy, we've been around for about it'll be 8 years in July, and we just opened Hanover last October, so we're really excited about that. And I've been doing a lot of work with Whole Foods over the past few months. A little partnership, some of you might have come by that Ask a Dietitian, we did a couple of times so far. So I'm really excited to be here today to talk to you guys about mastering meal planning. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about because so many people have questions. It's such a challenging subject. So what I'm really hoping you guys leave here with tonight is an action plan. Something that you can take home, you can shop in Whole Foods, and you can help yourself and your family just learn how to eat better. Our objectives for tonight are learning where our energy comes from, steps towards healthier eating, and how to plan your meals and snacks. So I always tell people there are 3 main things that we have to think about for healthy, proper nutrition. The 3 things are making sure you're eating the right types of foods, which is so easy to do here in Whole Foods because they have so many amazing products to choose from. The second thing is making sure that our portion sizes are appropriate for our individual needs. And the third thing is making sure we're eating at the right times. So we're going to talk about all of those things. I feel like bringing it back to basics is really important. So where we're going to start is talking about where our energy comes from. So a lot of people are fixated on calories. When I counsel people in the one-on-one setting, I rarely even talk about calories. I talk about balance of nutrients because all calories really are is the energy that we get in the food that we eat. So can anyone tell me without looking where the 3 main sources of energy are that we get our calories from? Carbohydrates is one. Protein, exactly. And then the third one? Fat, exactly. So those are our 3 main sources of energy and all have different benefits of the body. So protein helps us rebuild tissue, fat helps with brain function, carbohydrates are our body's main fuel source. You need all 3 of those macronutrients to survive. I know there's a lot of hype in the media about low carb, don't do this, don't do that. You need all 3 of those macronutrients in order to get the balance that your body needs. So some people might be tracking what they're eating in some sort of an app like MyFitnessPal or Lose It. So I've included on the next slide a breakdown of macronutrients, where you should be getting what percentages of calories that you should be getting the carb, fat, and protein from. Only think about this if you're using one of those tracking apps. I wanted to include it just so you knew. I feel like a lot of people are afraid of carbohydrates, but knowing like half your calories should come from them makes people feel a little bit better. So the next thing we'll talk about is what foods fall within each food group and how do we make the best choices. So I mentioned it really comes down to fueling your body with the right types of foods, right? So let's go through each macronutrient and talk about what those choices are. So the first group is, lean protein. So people think of animal proteins, and you're not wrong to think that. Seafood, chicken, turkey, eggs are all great sources of protein. What a lot of people don't realize is you get protein from nuts, beans, seeds, and legumes. How many of you guys include the vegetarian sources of protein in your diets regularly? Awesome, good. It's a really good thing to do, and there's a lot of good variety here at Whole Foods. In the bulk section, section, I encourage you to experiment with different types of beans that you can prepare. It will really open up your horizons. Have you guys heard of like Meatless Monday before? So it's good to make at least one meal you're doing meatless. It's better for the environment and it's good for your health as well. So chances are, I know protein is something that a lot of people worry about if they're getting enough of. The majority of the people that I encounter are absolutely getting enough protein, even if you're vegetarian, because beans, nuts, seeds, legumes, dairy products, like milk, yogurt, and cheese, but even if you have an intolerance to dairy, you can still get enough if you do soy, tofu, etc. So it's definitely important to include lean protein at each meal and snack. That's going to be really important. So we classify the protein as lean protein. So we want to limit red meats as much as we can because they're a lot of saturated fat. I'm not saying you can never eat that, but it's better to do more turkey, fish, chicken, etc. The next group is carbohydrates. We want to make sure that our carbohydrates are fiber rich. So a lot of people when they think of carbohydrates might think of white bread or white rice, but in reality, there are some really good quality carbohydrates that you should be including at each meal or a couple of times a day. Those include fruits, vegetables, whole grains. So did everyone get a goodie bag? You might not have gotten one. Let me give you one right now. So there's a lot of good stuff in here. One of which is oatmeal, which is a really, really nice high fiber whole grain. There's gluten-free oats, regular oats that you can do, so any type of variety based on what your body needs or if you have any allergies or intolerances. And it's really important to make sure that at least half of the grains you eat are coming from whole grains. That's the recommendation. Fiber helps fill us longer, so when we're trying to be mindful about our weight and just eating healthy, eating more fiber will sit in our stomach longer. It actually takes longer to digest and absorb, so it will keep us more satisfied. And if you have any sort of health condition, or even if you don't, which is great, keep that at bay by eating fiber. It will delay a spike in blood glucose levels. You've heard oatmeal and Cheerios will help with cholesterol levels. So there's really good important benefits of eating fiber-rich grains and carbohydrates. So don't be scared of them. Include them in moderation, and we'll talk about how to do that. The third macronutrient is fat. There's definitely over the years been hype about low fat, no fat, and you're left like, what the heck am I supposed to do? Is fat okay? Is it not okay? Absolutely, you definitely need fat. Like fiber, fat is also very satiating. It also has more calories per gram than carb and protein. So we'll talk about portions next and serving sizes. So you want to enjoy fat in moderation, and you want to make sure that you're getting good heart-healthy fats. Avocado, olive oil, canola oil, olives, nuts, seeds, flaxseed, chia seeds. That happens to be in your bag too. Walnuts are also in there. So I was asked to pick my top 3 favorite products here, or just in general, and I absolutely can't live without oats, chia seeds, and walnuts. They're so versatile. I'll tell you about that as we get into the presentation. Does anyone have any questions so far about the different macronutrients? Okay, just let me know if you do. So I think we should definitely talk about serving sizes, because that's a really big question on a lot of people's minds is, okay, I get it. I know what I should be eating, what I shouldn't be eating, but am I eating too much? Am I eating too little? What's the story here? So we definitely want to make sure we're getting more fruits and vegetables. You should definitely be eating a fruit and or vegetable at each meal and snack. That's because they're low in calories but really high in nutrients. You want to make sure you're filling your cart here with at least 10 different varieties, because all of the different colors will give your body all of those different antioxidants and benefits that you need. So in order to make sure that you're not spending a ton of money and wasting, because that's a big problem too, is wasting food, I would encourage you to buy different varieties of fruits and vegetables. So if you're going to buy berries, organic berries, because they're in season, there was just a sale here last weekend on organic strawberries. They were delicious. Make sure you're also buying things like apples, oranges that aren't going to go bad as quickly. So when you eat the berries first, you're going to be able to use those apples later on in the week. You're not going to run out because then you're like, I didn't eat any fruit today because I didn't have any left. So it's good to get a good variety of different fruits and vegetables. People are sometimes shocked to hear this, but frozen vegetables can be even more nutritious than fresh because they're picked at their peak and frozen right away, so they don't lose a lot of nutrients. So feel free to stock up on frozen vegetables. Do a variety of frozen and fresh. That would be best. Again, you use up your fresh vegetables and then you have frozen broccoli that you can use. So you're never without. It's always good to stock up on that. In terms of whole grains, you don't need to go crazy with your whole grain intake. As long as you're getting 3 servings a day of whole grains, you should be okay. What is a serving? A slice of bread, about half a cup of pasta or rice, even just half of an English muffin. So a little bit goes a long way. So include that at breakfast or snack or lunch, but make sure you are doing it because I encounter a lot of people, and we'll get to the meal planning piece, that really just eat like eggs for breakfast, salad with chicken for lunch, and then they come home from work and they're ravenous. And a large part of that is because they're not eating whole grains because they're scared to, they think it's bad. So make sure that you're at least including a whole grain serving at breakfast. If you're not doing it at lunch, make sure you do it as your snack. And then dinner time. So, heart-healthy fats, you don't need much. A lot of people get a little carried away when you're cooking. You might use a lot of oil if you're sauteing vegetables or cooking meats. Try to really back down on how much oil you're using because a tablespoon of oil has about 140 calories in it. So if you're cooking for yourself and you're using a tablespoon of oil, you need to account for that. If you're cooking for more than just yourself, then you can kind of divide that up. But you should be getting about 3 to 4 teaspoons a day of fats and oils and so forth. Other fats, it's not just oils. Quarter of an avocado is a serving. A lot of people are sad when I tell them that, but make sure you just have a quarter of an avocado. It depends on the meal, but a couple of tablespoons to a quarter cup of nuts would be a serving. But it says it all right here for you, so at least you have that takeaway. Another important thing, so beans, legumes we talked about a little bit, saying you want to make sure that you have at least 1 meal a week that's meatless. Making sure that you include, and I hope everyone's doing this, at least a 1-ounce serving 3 to 5 times a week of the nuts and seeds and beans and legumes. They're a really good source of healthy fat and they're satisfying. So I encourage you to definitely have that 5 times a week, if not 7. And then we have our lean meat, poultry, and seafood. So we also don't need as much as we think of this protein. We only need about 3 ounces. Does anyone know what the equivalent is to 3 ounces? Has anyone ever heard of deck cards? Like as a reference portion in serving? So it's about the palm of your hand and like the thickness of it. So I always find that people, not sure they always, but oftentimes find that people eat more grain and protein and not enough vegetables. And you can really save a lot of money by eating the proper amount of protein because it's expensive. So cutting back to about 3 to 4 ounces is a good idea. And then we have our dairy products or our dairy substitutes. We want to make sure that we're getting 3 servings a day, 2 to 3 servings a day. A serving is 8 ounces of skim milk, 1% milk, unsweetened almond milk, coconut milk, etc. A little container of yogurt, and 1.5 ounces of cheese. But that will help give us the calcium and protein that we need each day. So you have this as a reference for portions and serving sizes, and if there's any question at all, just feel free to raise your hand as we keep going. Now, measuring portions. Using a food scale, using measuring cups and measuring spoons is going to be the best way to do that, but it's not always going to be feasible. We're not always going to have time to do that. So I put together a little slide for you guys on using common objects to figure out what a portion size is. So if you see a piece of fruit that's the size of a baseball, you're getting a cup of fruit. A light bulb is about half a cup. So if you are eating broccoli, that's a good example, and you're like, okay, that's kind of the same size. 3 ounces of fish is about the size of a checkbook. We said 3 ounces of protein, like chicken or turkey, is the size of a deck of cards. A tablespoon is like a poker chip. 2 tablespoons is like a golf ball. So like peanut butter, for example, a golf ball size is 2 tablespoons. But if you're trying to be weight conscious and shed a few pounds, it really is worth your while to use the food scale and to use measuring cups and spoons. Because even for me, I've been a dietitian only 9 years this year, I still have to measure things. Like I think I know what a cup of cereal looks like, but then you have to kind of go back and just test yourself to make sure a cup doesn't creep up to a cup and a quarter, which creeps up to a cup and a half. So it's just something to think about. Now, we talked about the types of foods, which I'm sure most of you were familiar with. We talked about portion sizes, which maybe some of you were familiar with. But we want to make sure that our meal timing is appropriate. That's huge. That is like one of the biggest things. So, I get this question a lot. What's better? 3 meals a day? 6 small meals? What should I be doing? So, what you shouldn't be doing is going long stretches in between. So I don't think that most people eat every 4 hours, like breakfast, lunch, dinner, so you're going to need some snacks in there. The best thing to do, and I encourage you guys now at this point, so I have this nice handout for you guys. On one side, there's some tips, takeaways from the presentation, and then the other side is a little blank meal plan, so feel free to keep that out and jot down notes as we go. So you want to aim for 3 meals a day and 2 to 3 small snacks depending upon like your workout schedule or what time you're waking up and going to bed. But I would say breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, or breakfast, snack, lunch, dinner, snack, or something of that sort. What you don't want to do is go more than 3 or 4 hours in between meals or snacks. Because what happens is it can actually slow your metabolism. So if you're eating 1 meal a day, that's not the best for your body because your body doesn't know when your next meal is coming from. I've seen people who are actually overweight by eating 1 meal a day and they say, help me, like what's going on? I'm only eating 1 meal, I don't understand. Because you're not fueling your body regularly. You need the energy every couple of hours to keep going. So breakfast should be eaten within the first hour after waking up. And then you should be eating every 3 to 4 hours after that. Either a snack or a meal to keep your metabolism going and to keep you feeling satisfied between meals. If you go too long, we've all done it, we've all been there where we've gone a little too long and we get a little hangry. So make sure that you're not going long stretches because that will cause you to overeat later in the day. So really work on that. That's one takeaway that I really want you guys to master. So aim for 3 meals and a few small snacks. So we're going to talk about breakfast now. So some of you might be thinking, oh my goodness, eating breakfast within the first hour after waking, I'm not hungry. You know, there's different reasons why people don't do that. But I'm not hungry at that time. I can't possibly prepare breakfast in the morning. I'm waking up late as it is and running out the door. How many fall into one of those categories? Yeah, there's a lot of different reasons why we're not eating breakfast, right? So I have some different tips for you on what you could do as easy go-ahead, make-ahead breakfasts. So first off, what should breakfast include? Breakfast should include at least 3 food groups. It should contain a protein, a whole grain, and a fruit or a vegetable. You need all 3 of those components. If you don't have all 3 of those components, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to be hungry within an hour. You need all 3 of those combined together. So let's talk about what some appropriate breakfasts are, and then I'll give you some tricks on how to prepare that in advance. So let's talk about eggs. So a good protein source are eggs, right? That's our protein. We could scramble that up with some vegetables, and we could pair it with a whole grain English muffin. Breakfast, perfect. What we could do is we could do yogurt. There's plenty of different yogurt varieties here. Siggy's is one of my favorites. 365 brand is great too. Yogurt's our protein. Let's pair it with half a cup of fruit and a 1/4 cup granola. Fruit protein. We have all three of those parts that we need. Does anyone want to share a breakfast that they do now, and we can see how we can make it a little bit better if we need to? It's okay if you don't worry about it. But cereal, whole grain cereal, milk is your protein, throw a sliced banana on there. So make sure that you have all three of those food groups. And I know it's not always easy to have the time in the morning to sit down for a meal. So I'm going to give you 3 different meals that you can try doing in advance. One is make-ahead breakfast sandwiches. Do any of you guys have little ramekins at home? So if you crack your egg in there and bake it in the oven, it fits perfectly on an English muffin. So if you have your whole grain English muffin, cut it in half. You take your cooked egg, put it right on top, put it with some vegetables in a ramekin, and then what you can do, put the English muffin right back on top, wrap it in plastic wrap, and then put it in a little Ziploc bag and put it in the freezer. Take it out the plastic wrap, wrap it in a damp paper towel, and microwave it for like 30 seconds to a minute, and it's done. Make those ahead a bunch of the time, and you have breakfast. And you can keep those in there for a few months and not really have to eat them right away. It's just a good variety. It's healthy. It's not like a pre-boxed and pre-packaged one. That's going to have a lot of processed ingredients in it. One of my favorites that I do like every morning is smoothies. You can make ahead little bags. The whole key with meal planning, it's time consuming, yes, but it doesn't have to be if you're smart about it. So doing everything kind of at once for the week when it comes to those smoothie packs is a really good idea. Get your little plastic baggies out of Tupperware, and then you put your strawberries, you put your banana in there, you can put some spinach or kale, put it in the freezer. You can even take your blender, put your milk and yogurt in the night before, and then just that morning pop that frozen bag right in and blend it, and you're done. And an easy cleanup tip is once you've poured your smoothie into your container, rinse it out really well, fill it like this much with hot water, dab a dish soap, put the lid on, let it go, and it's clean. So, that's oftentimes someone will say, oh, it's hard to clean in the morning, I don't want to dirty a lot of things, but that way you come home and it's done. The third thing, and you have all of the essentials in the little goodie bag that you would need to do this, who's done overnight oats? Have you guys heard of overnight oats before? So, you have all the essentials right in here. Take a jar, like a mason jar or a Tupperware, put 1 packet of your oatmeal. What you can do is add almond milk or skim milk, milk of your choice, yogurt if you like it. If you don't, just leave it out, that's fine. Cinnamon is great. Put the lid on. You can make them in batches too. They actually stay good in the fridge. You'll just want to add more milk that morning because it might kind of harden a little bit. And then you can jazz it up with some walnuts for some extra protein. Oops, there's water in it too. And then chia seeds for healthy fat, and then top it with some fruit. Maybe some sliced banana, maybe some strawberries or raspberries, and it's meant to be eaten cold. You can definitely heat it up, just add more liquid to it, but how can you say that that's too time consuming? You make it the night before, you grab it and go. Easy peasy. So breakfast doesn't need to be anything ridiculously time consuming. That would definitely work. So planning the night before is going to be key. Maybe setting your alarm a little earlier would be good as well. Now let's talk snacks. Now, did everyone write down a breakfast that they're going to try or how they're going to make theirs a little bit better? Okay, because I just want to make sure you guys have a little bit of homework when you leave here. So, snacks. Snacks are very important. They keep our energy levels up, like I mentioned, and they're also an opportunity to get in more nutrients. So when it comes to picking the right snack, how I approach that is, what haven't I got on the wallet today? Hopefully you're planning your meals and snacks in advance, or if you're working, you're going to be eating breakfast, you're going to be packing 2 snacks in your lunch, so you can see what makes sense to fit in your day. So what a snack should always include is a protein and a fiber-rich carbohydrate, not one or the other. So cheese alone isn't going to be sufficient because you're trying to get to the next meal. Cheese and whole grain crackers is a perfect snack. So trail mix is another perfect snack. You get a little fruit and you have some nuts. Hummus and vegetables, protein, fiber. Do you get the theme? So obviously it's going to be cheaper to buy like a bag of carrots that you that, no question about it. But if you're finding that you're buying carrots or vegetables in large quantities, and then at the end of the week you're like, oh, I didn't realize I had that in there, didn't even cut it up, go for the already chopped varieties. If that fits better in your lifestyle, there's tons of options here. Get it already cut up. You don't have to, if you're already busy enough and you're like, I'm just not going to cut up carrots, my life is crazy, then go for the already cut up stuff. It will make you feel better and you'll be on track by doing that. So yogurt with berries, crackers with nut butter, vegetables with hummus, fruit with cheese. My favorite bars are RX bars, Lara bars, Kind bars. Those are all great. Those actually have the protein fiber component, so you don't need to pair anything else with it. But I think for snacks, what I would encourage you to do is to pick like 4 different snacks that you're going to rotate throughout the week and prep them in advance so it's easier. So if you buy a big bag of trail mix, you need to portion it out, 4 cup servings in little baggies. Again, doing it all at once, putting it in the pantry. Maybe you have a little designated basket where you put your dry goods that aren't going to go bad. So then if you're running out on the weekend and you're like, oh, I might not be back in time, you can grab that and feel good about it. So Lara bars, trail mix is always good, whole grain crackers, and then other perishable things include yogurt, cheese, hummus, stock up on that. And it's better to choose fresh whole foods in their natural state than processed. Not to say you can't have any of those processed foods, but let's make it more fruit and veggie based with the protein. So you should be aiming for a snack twice a day in between breakfast and lunch, and usually between lunch and dinner. Now, planning lunch can be a little bit tricky. How many people are packing lunch for the day? Or, yeah, but sometimes the temptation is there to buy lunch out. And it's great because there's a great salad bar, so you have that option. But if you're not around Whole Foods, like where you work or where you live, if it's something that's fast, like McDonald's or Burger King, it's best to avoid that and to have a plan going in. So one thing that I always recommend is investing in good Tupperware and a good lunch bag. That's going to be key. For a while, I was working long days, and I realized my lunch bag wasn't big enough. So I needed to go out. I actually went to the paper store and bought a bigger lunch bag because I wasn't getting everything I needed and I was feeling really low on energy. So make sure that you have something that's going to be big enough to get you through your entire day. I also recommend, as a way to practice portion control at dinner time, if you're finding that a lot of times you might be going back for seconds, what I would encourage you to do is, before you even sit down to eat your dinner, make your plate according to the portion plate. Does everyone know what the portion plate is? It's the plate, it relates to my pyramid. Half your plate non-starchy vegetables, which are everything except for potatoes, corn, and peas. Those go in the starch category, which is a quarter of your plate, and then the other quarter is the protein. So making sure that you're getting all of those. But you want to make sure that you're filling your plate accordingly and then package the rest up as leftovers for your lunch for the next day. Then you're not going to be as tempted to eat it because you're like, if I eat it now, then that's my lunch for tomorrow. And I would say if you're not, like a lot of people do sandwiches and salads, but if you're not really into that and you want to do more of a hot meal, I would say prepare a little extra dinner so you can have that for lunches for the week. But you can certainly do other cold options as well. So, lunch bag and ice packs are going to be key because that way you keep things cold. There's great thermoses out there that keep foods hot too if you don't have access to a microwave, so that's always awesome. If you find that you are eating out more at work versus packing things from home, bring your own sides then. Like if you're getting a sandwich, instead of getting chips, bring a piece of fruit from home, save some money. Make sure you include variety. And keep some food staples at work. Some people will even pack like a big batch of something and leave it at the office or at school or whatever, just because it's easier, they don't have to worry about packing it. But lunch should always have non-starchy vegetables, a lean protein, and a whole grain or fruit, either one of those. So let's talk about what some options are that you could do. salad with protein in a wheat pita pocket. How many of you guys have heard of the mason jar salads, or have you done them? So basically, you take a mason jar, one with like a wide mouth, and you layer it in a certain way so it stays good. The hardest part about making a salad is chopping everything, right? So you line up your jars at the beginning of the week, you chop up your veggies all at once, and you throw it in the jar. But there's a science to it. You start with your dressing first, and then your harder vegetables like carrots, corn, broccoli, cauliflower, etc. And you layer that so it creates a barrier. And then you can add the softer vegetables like tomatoes, healthy fat like avocado. And then you put your protein, whether it's eggs or chicken or cheese, and then you layer your greens. And then you have the jars ready for the week. All you have to do is make sure they don't tip over. And you can grab one and bring it with you, and you don't have to chop the stuff the rest of the week. So you make sure that it goes to good use. So that's always an option. Sandwiches are super easy. And there's really great deli meat here that doesn't have any sodium in it. It's just literally straight turkey breast. So you could always get that into a few slices of that on a nice whole grain bread. And maybe you say, all right, I'm not gonna put vegetables on my sandwich, but I'm gonna bring baby carrots with a little side of hummus. It doesn't matter how you do it. I have some people that will even do garden salads. They don't like throwing protein on their salad, so they do Greek yogurt on the side instead with some crackers. So it doesn't really matter how you do it, as long as you're getting the components in there, you'll be really good. Baked chicken with a roll and vegetable, whole wheat wrap with fruit and vegetable on the side, or even soup with crackers. So there's tons of variety that you can get here. The one thing that I really do encourage you to make sure of is if you're bringing leftovers from the night before, that there are all of the components you need, because sometimes there's no vegetable left or there's no grain left. So there's awesome stuff here where like the brown rices and quinoas that are frozen, you can cook in the microwave for like 3 to 4 minutes and it's done. Frozen vegetables, same thing. Like you can cook those up really quickly. It's not going to be super time consuming when you're already busy enough. So just make sure that you pack all of the components that you need, that you're not leaving anything out, because that's going to leave you feeling ravenous later in the day. So after lunch comes another snack. So you would want to pop one of those other snacks in there and make sure you're packing that in your lunch bag. And then we move on to dinner. Dinner is always the challenge, right? I don't have enough time. When I come home, I'm drained and I'm tired. What should I do? I need to eat something and I don't want to go get takeout or something. So I think that having some really good healthy staples on hand for those nights when you're just like, I just really don't feel like cooking, but I know I need to make something. Canned beans are a really good example. Frozen turkey burgers or veggie burgers are a really good example too. Tuna is a great protein source that you just crack open again, drain it, right? You know, it's good. Frozen vegetables are a must, keeping those on hand. And like I said, getting the quinoas and brown rices that you can keep in the freezer and just take out. Always have those around and handy, because you don't necessarily need to use those every week. Just knowing that you're there makes your life a lot easier. I also find what keeps people on track with the meal planning is preparing one meal component at the beginning of your week. So that could be a big batch of quinoa. Keep it in the fridge. Use that for different meals throughout the week. Maybe use it as a side for dinner. Maybe the next day you make a salad and throw some vegetables and some chicken on top of it. But knowing you have that one meal component will make it a little more easier. Let's use chicken as an example. Let's say that you cooked up a bunch of chicken for the week. You could do a million different things with that. You could take a little wrap, put a little tomato sauce, put your cooked chicken and vegetables on top, and make a pizza. The next night, you can make chicken salad using Greek yogurt instead of mayo, throwing in some grains, throwing in some celery, putting that in a pita pocket, or putting that on top of salad. Then, the next night, you could make it with some whole grain pasta and some frozen broccoli, chicken, broccoli, and zucchini. What else? You could do so many different things with it. You could just eat it as is with 2 different sides. But I think that helps people stay accountable and on track, as if they're preparing more in advance and not waiting till that night, unless you have more time to do that. Another thing too is making bigger batches of things for the week. So you definitely want to look at your week in advance. What's going on? Do the kids have soccer on Thursday night, or do you have a work meeting that's going to be late, or what are you doing? Crock pot meals are awesome. So you say, all right, I'm going to eat the crock pot meal tonight, and I'm going to save a portion for Thursday when I know that I'm not going to have time to cook anything. So it comes down to, and this is a learned thing. You're not going to leave here and all of a sudden be like, done every single thing that we talked about tonight. But a step in the right direction is learning what your schedule looks like and planning accordingly. Because if you buy all these groceries, but then you don't have time to prepare them, it's going to go to waste. So crock pot, and not just in the wintertime, but in the summer months too, is really good. So are you guys on Pinterest at all? Make sure you follow a healthy balance on Pinterest. We have a bunch of different boards on there where you pin healthy recipes. So if you're ever looking for something to make, we have quick and easy dinners, we have lunches, crock pot meals, vegetarian options, healthy desserts, etc. So it's hard when you're on Pinterest, you're like, is this healthy, is this not healthy? So you can be assured when you go on there that everything you're looking at is good. Definitely think in terms of meal components when you're thinking of dinner. So again, dinner should resemble lunch. Half non-starchy vegetable, a quarter lean protein, and a quarter starch. It's really good to include fish a couple of times a week. Omega-3 fatty acids are really important because our bodies don't make them on our own, so we need to get them through food. So, chia seeds are a really good source, salmon, shrimp, etc. So including fish a couple times a week would be good. And there's a lot of good variety here. So I also like to plan meals around proteins for dinners. Just because maybe you're like, oh, the sound of eating chicken every day, I can't even think about doing that. So you might want to say, Monday we'll do meatless, Tuesday we'll do ground turkey, maybe tacos, Wednesday we'll do chicken. And it helps you plan your sides around that. I think it's a good place to start when you start there. So I would encourage you to try doing that. So let's talk about some dinner ideas that you could try and what balanced dinners look like. So salad, actually, I must have made a mistake on that. That's the same exact line as lunch ideas, I apologize. But dinner ideas, what you could do, like I said, the homemade pizza is amazing. Literally takes 15 minutes to make. You take like a flatbread, whole grain flatbread, put a little tomato sauce, put some cheese, put some chicken, put some vegetables on top, $3.75 for 15 minutes, and it's done. Another one of my favorite go-to dinners that's so fast is a loaded sweet potato. So you take your sweet potato, rinse it off, poke holes in it, microwave it 2.5 minutes per side, cut a little slit in it, be careful, it'll be really hot, make a little pocket, and you fill it with black beans, a little bit of cheese, plain Greek yogurt and sliced sour cream, peppers and onions, and you have a complete meal right there. That's one of my favorite go-to lunches too. Scrambled egg burrito would work for dinner too if you're looking for something fast and easy. That's like the easiest thing that you can make. But basically what you want is you want to make sure that you've got a protein, a whole grain, and a vegetable. So why is planning meals important? It's important because it's going to give you better balance, life balance too. It's going to make you feel better. But you're going to be less likely to consume unhealthy foods and be tempted to order pizza when you come home and you're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, I don't know what to have. So planning it out is going to make it a lot easier for you. I actually bought one off of Amazon. I love it. It's not just like this, but it's a little dry erase board that you put right on your freezer or your refrigerator. And it has Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, all days of the week, and you can plan out your meals right on there. So what you'd want to do, first step, is not make your grocery list without thinking of what meals you're going to make. So figuring out what meals you're going to make based on what your week looks like, and then write down the ingredients that you need that will go with each meal, and then you come to the store and you do your grocery shopping, and then you'll be able to know what you're making each day because you'll have it right there. It's a good communication point too. But I even forget, like I'll plan my meals on Saturday, shop on Sunday, and sometimes Wednesday comes and I'm like, what did I say I was gonna make? That will make your life a lot easier. It will definitely establish structure too. It will definitely save you time in the long run. Once you get used to planning your meals out in advance, when you don't do it, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna be like, oh no, why didn't I do that? Like it doesn't feel great. You're gonna save a lot of money too. If dining out a lot and getting takeout, you spend so much money on. So my clients will say that's what they do. They'll look at their bank statements and be like, oh no, I need to make a change, and that's how I know if I did well this week is I didn't dine out as much. And it makes it more of a special treat when you do actually go out to eat versus doing it every day. So you will definitely save money by doing that. I often think of that when I go out to eat. I'm like, I just spent more than I'd spend in a week's worth of groceries. So it's really worth your while. And it also helps improve your food because you're saving money, and you're also eating better and fueling your body with what it needs. Tips for planning meals. Prep as many items at once as you can, or if you know that you're going to be home, like let's say it's a Monday and you're cooking pasta with ground turkey and broccoli, and you're like, oh, this is going to take a little bit of time, why not pop some sweet potatoes in the oven while you're doing that? That's quick. So try to maximize your time so you're not spending a ton of time in the kitchen every single day. Make your life easier by designating a few hours at the beginning of the week or whatever makes sense for you to do that so you don't spend as much time. Freeze leftovers, so making big batches. Maybe you live alone, or maybe you're like, I just don't want to eat the same thing every single night, but make a crock pot meal and freeze what you're not eating at that time. So 3 months from now, you can say, oh, I can pull this right out, and that's easy. Healthy, less perishable foods on hand, like we said, tuna, pasta, beans, frozen turkey burgers, frozen veggie burgers. Those are all going to be really important. And if you are trying to save money, buy in bulk. So buy your grains in bulk, your meat in bulk. Don't be afraid to freeze the raw meat. Portion out in little containers, take it out a little at a time, but you will definitely save money in the long run by doing that. So, start the day off right, eating breakfast when? Within an hour after waking up. Breakfast should have 3 components. Who can tell me what those are? Protein. Anyone else? Grain and fruit. Love it. Or vegetable. Exactly. We shouldn't be going more than how many hours without eating? 3 to 4. Yep. So that means that snacks will come into play for sure. Snacks should contain protein and a fiber-rich carbohydrate. What are some breakfasts that you can make in advance the night before? Overnight oats, smoothies, the egg sandwiches. Did anyone think of any others or any ones that they've done?
The muffins and breakfast are good too.
Yes. Yes. Putting the eggs in the muffin tins. That's awesome. Doing a couple of those, that works. Packing. Yes, exactly. So making a big batch of that, keeping it in the fridge. That's perfect. And that would be good for lunch or dinner too. Yeah, love it. Packing your snacks in advance, so portion them out. Buying the already cut up fruits and vegetables, putting them in little containers, getting a little section of your refrigerator, good for that, so you know where to put things and where to grab them really easily. Making sure that you have a good variety so you're not bored and sick of eating the same thing every single day. And then also including all the different macronutrients at lunch and dinner. So portion plate, half vegetables, quarter lean protein, quarter starch at lunch and dinner. Incorporate a variety of healthy foods so you benefit the most. And then improve your meal planning skills one at a time. So I always say to people, we talked about so many different things just in, 45 minutes that I've been chatting with you guys. Don't feel like you need to master, I know this is called master meal planning, but don't think you need to do every single thing that we talked about tonight. Start with 1 to 3 things, truly. Because if you, no pun intended, but up more than you can chew, you're not going to stick with it. It's going to get really overwhelming. So make sure that you pick 1 to 3 things to start. So maybe you notice, yeah, I've been buying a lot of food in bulk, but I'm not eating it. Maybe you do buy the already pre-cut up fruits and vegetables. Maybe you realize you're skipping breakfast. So what you want to do is designate some time to prepare breakfast the night before. Maybe you realize that you're really busy at work, or you're really busy and you're not eating dinner or preparing dinner, you're getting more takeout. Start doing a crock pot meal twice a week so you have some dinners to choose from. So there's definitely steps. I hope every one of you can take at least one takeaway from this that you're going to do to change to impact your life in a better way. But I did want to save some time for questions. Yes?
So, can you talk about smoothies again? Like
Yes.
having a smoothie for breakfast and including everything that you need in that
Yes.
for it to be considered a breakfast?
Exactly. So smoothies don't always have the three components that we talked about. They might not have grain. Some people do put like a quarter cup of oats in their smoothie. Go for it.
That's really good.
Go for it. That's totally fine. Smoothies can be tricky because some people will say, I do smoothies, but they don't fill me because they're not putting the right types of things. So my favorite recipe is doing like a cup of milk of your choice, unsweetened almond milk, cashew milk, rice milk, skim milk, whatever the milk is that you choose. Make sure it's calcium and vitamin D fortified. Half a cup of plain Greek yogurt, preferably low fat or non-fat, just because you don't need the extra saturated fat. And get a big container to save money. Plain Greek yogurt's awesome as a mayo replacer or a sour cream replacer too, so I encourage you to keep it on hand. Load it with frozen vegetables up to a cup. Frozen fruit. A cup of frozen fruit of your choice. Berries, strawberries, blueberries, mango, pineapple. Just make sure there's no added sugar. And how do you know? When you look at the ingredients list, you don't want to see sugar, you just want to see whatever that fruit is. Half a banana, freeze the other half, because it will make it creamy, but you don't want to have all of that. A big handful of spinach or kale. And you can throw in either like a tablespoon of natural peanut butter, or you can throw in a couple of tablespoons of the peanut butter powder that they have here. Either one will work. And then you can throw in a couple tablespoons or a quarter cup of the oatmeal if you want to. But that should be super satisfying and filling and give you the right amount of energy that you need to get you through to the next meal.
And if you add the oats, would you subtract anything else?
I would say probably peanut butter. Yeah. Or do the peanut butter powder, just use a smaller amount. Yeah. But that should get you through because it's packed with protein and fiber. And you're meeting like half your calcium need for the day just with that breakfast. I think smoothies are awesome because you've already right off the bat gotten 3 servings of fruit and a serving of vegetables. So like how could you start it out? Other questions? It's like the first ever.
Okay, so the coconut oil, is it
Yes.
considered still healthy?
There's debate about that. I know. So the whole thing with coconut oil is the way that it's absorbed by the body, sorry, this sounds ignorant, makes it different than other types of saturated fat. So coconut oil is highly saturated, and saturated is the type of fat that we want to limit because it's the artery clogging fat, but there's some talk about coconut oil not having that same effect. But it's still a fact. So what I tell people is you can include it in moderation. I think sometimes we get carried away when we hear something's good for us, so then we start eating it every single day in large quantities. So still practice 1 teaspoon, and I think it adds a lot of good flavor. You know, if you're making like rice or like a mock fried rice recipe, will add a really good flavor, but practice portion control with it. So treat it like you would olive oil or canola oil or something like that. But yeah, it's still under research, you know? It's like anything, right? So moderation. Yeah?
What is with the apple cider vinegar shot that everybody is?
Some people think that it helps like cleanse and detoxify or lead to weight loss. There's no real scientific evidence to prove that that's the case, but it's not going to harm you if you do it. So I don't tell people to do that, but if they're doing it and they swear by it, I mean, who cares if it's a placebo effect? If it's working for them, great, but there's no real evidence to back that.
I think people take it if they feel like they're getting sick too, because they feel like it's going to help them fight whatever they're getting.
It could. And if it does help them feel better, then I'm like,
And it's great for heartburn. If you have heartburn, you can take a tablespoon just straight, and it burns going down, but it makes you feel better very quickly.
interesting.
Yeah.
Have you tried it?
Yeah.
I've never tried it.
I love natural remedies. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
He's good at that. Heartburn.
Right.
It's worth a try.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh,
It will really scare him when he swallows it. He's like, oh my God.
that's,
It
yeah.
feels like it's burning and like,
Yeah,
yeah.
going down, but after it's
Okay. Good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Other questions that you guys have? How do you feel about going forward with the meal plan? Okay, and if you guys have any questions that you don't want to ask as a group, feel free to come and grab me if you want to chat about anything. I also have this little sign-in sheet if you guys are interested with working with us, or if you just want to sign up for our newsletter, we send out recipes